Oh, hey YouTube, this is Young Vintage Gamer here, and I'm here today at this really awesome video game store in Oakdale, Long Island, New York, and it's a pretty cool video game store that got all kinds of retro stuff and even cards and pop culture stuff, and nowadays they're starting to become like quote Long Island's own version of GameStop, where you can pre-order new stuff here, like Call of Duty or Pokemon, or any of the new titles that are being released today. And the best part is that they get released one day early before they get released on GameStop on Thursdays. And anyway, they were nice enough to let me take a look at one of the consoles they have and come out for sale, the original Nintendo Famicom. So let me place this on the tripod and show you what this console is. So anyway, I promised them not to open it, so I'm not going to open it. So I'm just going to show you while it's wrapped. So anyway, this is the original Nintendo Famicom. It's short for family computer. Whoops, sorry. Anyway, this is essentially the Japanese precursor to the Nintendo Entertainment System, released 2 years early in 1983. Now, unlike the NES, where Nintendo marketed that console as a toy, they market this as like a family computer, like a hybrid of a console and hybrid of a computer in particular. Now, anyway, as you can see, that the label says what channels it works on, which I'll get to in just a minute. So let's get started. I don't know if, as you can see underneath the label, there's a simple small power on-off switch. Now, when the consoles turn on, which I can't show you, it exposes orange paint or an orange sticker indicating the console's turned on. It's got a cartridge eject lever right here that slides and ejects the cartridge from on top. And it's got a small, simple reset button. And the cartridges are top loading like the NES Model 2. So I'm not going to show you how they insert because I can't open this. Anyway, on the front, it's got a third player expansion port with a dust cover where you can plug in extra controllers or any peripherals this thing has to offer, which the peripherals are subject for another video entirely. On the side, on each side, it's got two controllers parked on each side. Now, the Player 1 controller has the same button setup as the NES, the simple D-pad, start select, B and A button, except the controllers are much rounder than the NES, which is pretty cool. But on the other side, the Player 2 controller is a different story. It comes with a built-in microphone, which for games like Legend of Zelda, if you read the instructions on the US version of Legend of Zelda, you'll know the instructions mentions that Paul's voice hates loud noises, which is referring to this microphone accessory with the volume adjuster. And unfortunately, that peripheral never got released in the US, probably because it was ahead of its time, unfortunately. It's got vents right here, and it's got a nice little red dust flap. It's got a serial number underneath, rubber feet, vent on here. On the back, the controllers are internally hardwired in the consoles on the back. I don't know if you can see it, but hopefully you can see it. There's the AC adapter port, or DC adapter port. And this is not the original Famicom AC DC adapter, but this is like a reproduction reproduction power supply. So I'm not gonna go for all that trouble unless, no, they're the same. So I want to mention the important part is that if you're gonna use an NES AC adapter on a Famicom, don't. Even though the pin connectors are the same, because the Famicom uses DC power, whereas the NES uses AC power. And if you use an NES AC adapter on a Famicom, the results will not end well for the Famicom, unfortunately. If you need to find a replacement, you can either use this power supply or use a Sega Genesis Model 1 power supply for this thing to work. Or get a step-down converter or something. Now, underneath it's got, hold on, let me see if the other console shows it. Now, I don't know what these switches are. They're busted, unfortunately. One of them's the TV game switch. Now, one of them's the TV and game switch. One of them is a TV and game switch, and the other is a channel 1 and channel 2 selector switch. Now, I must notify you that the RF on this console in order to hook this up on an American television, like even if it's an HDMI TV, as it says here, it's going to search for channels that are in Japan, channel 1 and channel 2. But as you can see here on the label, and according to what I learned online, the channel 1 corresponds as channel 95 in the US, and channel 2 translates as channel 96 in the US as well. And of course, hopefully you can see it, it's got an RF port on the back. Now, originally the Famicom originally came with one of those cables that plugs into a box that you have to screw in the back of the TV, but it doesn't have that, so I'm not going to be able to show you that. But conveniently, unlike the NES power supply, you can instead use the NES RF connector and be able to hook it up to the coaxial part of the TV instead, which is pretty more convenient than using those connectors that don't exist on TVs today. Now anyway, with that out of the way, let me show you off what kind of games this console has to offer, because it does have the same titles as NES, such as Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Excite Bike, etc. Now, the reason to buy a Famicom is not to play those games, but to play games that never received an NES release, such as this game that I have, which this game is a subject for another video as soon as I figure out the translation for this game, because I can't read that. The box is a little worn out, but I will show you what a regular Famicom game would look like. And I'm glad to have this cartridge in good shape. So here's what they look like. As you can see, this game's made by Jalico. I might butcher it. Now the NES uses a 72-pin connector, whereas the Famicom uses a 60-pin connector. So this is what the cartridge looks like. Now supposedly, if you're going to use Famicom cartridges on an NES, I mean, the NES Model 2 can work with these if you get an NES to Famicom card converter. So here's this game I got, which is currently the only Famicom cartridge game that I currently own. There's even another one that unfortunately I may not be able to show you until I get it, Ultraman, which is another decent reason why to own a Famicom. Here's this game. And they do have some Famicom games, such as this game, which looks like a baseball game, 92 or something, made by Namco. I don't know who that is, probably Namco. And I think this is, judging by the cover, I think it might be South and North and South on the NES, which that's a subject for another video entirely. If I mention the game's name wrong, let me know in the comments, because I'm trying. And here's another baseball game, 88. It's a little faded. And here's Tecmo's game in Japan. It looks like a dodgeball game or something, or a volleyball. I don't know. But there were a bunch more Famicom games, such as Ultraman or Wagon Land, that got released on the Famicom. The Famicom disc games that were released on the Famicom disc system, those are subject for another video entirely, because in this video, all I want to discuss is the Famicom. Overall, in conclusion, if you like Japanese Nintendo systems, this is pretty much the perfect choice to get one. They got some titles that never received an NES release, such as this game, and definitely worth playing Ultraman on this console. That's a good reason to get this console, to at least play Ultraman. So yeah, I like to give a shout out and thank you to the guys at East End Gaming for letting me look at this console, and be sure to come down and check out their place, because it's really amazing. But with that said, subscribe for more videos like this, and be sure to hit a like if you like what you see here. Be sure to comment down below what is your favorite Famicom game, and also comment down below the name of these Famicom games that I showed you, so I can type them down in the description. And also, be sure to hit the notification bell. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. This is me, signing off.